Man, shout out to Mr. Manish and Marley Osal. Man, what's up? This your boy DJ Rowe. Loving your music, man. Straight from Vallejo. You know what I'm saying? They've been performing at a couple of places down here, man. But it's about that time, y'all. Global History Night. We here with Anna.
Yeah, we've been changing our schedule around a little bit. So,
yes.
Yeah, it is.
You went on a trip, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah. What happened? How was it?
It was good. I saw my family.
Nice.
Yeah, which is always really good. I saw my big brother and my dad, and I saw my younger half sister who I hadn't seen in like 2 years. And I met her baby, who's now a little kid, and her new baby.
Nice.
So that was, I don't know what that what that was.
Too close to the speaker.
Oh, okay. Okay. So that was good, and I saw some other friends.
Nice.
Yeah, and so it's good. I have a couple things simmering right now. I'm working on screening a documentary about Ralph Bunche.
Yes.
Hopefully over at the Empress Theater.
Okay.
And screening You Don't Have to Ride Jim Crow in Oakland. I've been working on doing that.
Nice. Didn't you just recently, I think it was, I don't know, at the end of last year that you did a show at the Empress?
Yes, you were there.
Yes, I was. Well, see, I was trying to, those things just kind of get you into it.
Yes.
And yes, everybody, I was there, but I was just trying to ask her so she can
Yes, I did.
explain it.
I did.
She's done a couple of shows around here. You also did one that I know I went to. What was that? That you did
At the
across
Artisan.
Yes.
Artisan Art Space, and at the Naval and at the Naval Historical Museum.
Yeah, and you did one across the street. Yep. So, Anna's big down here, y'all. You gotta come check out one of her shows.
Yes, please do, everybody.
Yes.
I mean, it's so exciting, and this will be a big step for me to move to doing a show in Oakland.
Uh-oh.
Yes. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And I'm gonna do a trip in the fall. It's a civil rights tour in Mississippi. Yeah.
So who are you going? You going by yourself?
No, with my brother.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, my brother's now on the board of an organization called the some justice project in Mississippi, and they do civil rights tours.
So is your brother from Mississippi? Is that where he's from?
No.
I'm just asking,
No.
Does he live there currently?
No.
So both of you are just kind of coming from where you guys stay.
Oh, yeah,
okay,
yeah. I, for one, have never been. My brother has done this tour, so that would have been the first time he went to Mississippi.
Right.
And it will be my first time there, because, yeah, you can tell. Because I think a whole lot of people that I know would just be like, no fucking way. Like, do I want to go to Mississippi?
Mississippi. But, it's more up to date. I don't know if I would have wanted to go there years ago, but it might be a little different now. I don't know. I've never been that.
Yeah, a little bit.
That's kind of deep south. That's, what I'm saying? That's weird.
Exactly.
I don't know. You'd have to kind of know people there.
Well, it's not different enough because there's still organizations like this. They work on trying to fix voter suppression and social justice issues. So that's kind of the point. Shantae. We miss Shantae.
Hey, what's going on, Shantae? Shantae might be coming through though in a month though. She was talking about coming through. Yes.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Good. We miss
and I'm hoping because Shantae is going to be our starter and spring off of Lady Duck Soup. Everybody.
Yes.
So me and her have been working on it and we're getting stuff together, but she should be coming through soon. I hope.
Yes. Lady Duck Soup. I can't wait to see that.
Yes.
And hear that.
I can't either.
Yes. So, wow. And so far as what's going on in the world. Wow. Okay, so we were talking about reparations last time, and I looked it up and was doing some research, and unfortunately, I did not exit out of my program or whatever, so I don't have my notes, but I remember stuff. And so we were talking about, has it ever been done before, or how would this happen? And okay, when politicians talk about reparations, what they are talking about is a government commission to study reparations. So that's all that means. And that has been proposed like every year for years. Like, just set up a study, okay? Let's just try. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
This was, I think you're in the group 360.
I was in the group.
You left?
Yeah.
Why did you leave?
I don't know.
Should have stayed, but I don't know. I just saw this. It was funny that you said that because I saw this today, and I guess someone in here posted. Who posted this? Let me see who posted this. Philip L. Weatherspoon. Shout out to him. He's one of the people in the group.
Yeah.
And Anna left the group. I don't know why she left, but she left.
Because I just like talking to you. I know.
It's kind of weird. I just, I'm not even in the group, and I'm like one of the people that made it. But
I
like looking at the stuff. I know I'm wrong for
Yeah.
that. My bad, Anna.
Yeah.
But I guess what he posted is Lincoln signed a bill in 1862 that paid up to $300 for every enslaved person freed.
And up to 40 acres of land. So that's where you get the phrase 40 acres and a mule. But then unfortunately it didn't happen after Lincoln was shot. So it never happened.
Oh,
yes.
Look at that. Okay.
Yes. And so we were talking about how could this work, and the person that's gotten it a lot of publicity is a writer named Ta-Nehisi Coates, and I think I mentioned him before. He's a young African-American writer that has become a very important voice in the United States, and so he gave an example of how this could work, just theoretically. Okay, do you know what redlining is?
No, what's redlining?
Okay, it's a system that's set up in neighborhoods and communities basically to keep black people from buying houses. That's what it means. And so in Chicago, there was an area that was redlined. And so black people tried to buy homes in that neighborhood and were prevented from doing it. So what they did was lease homes. Like, some white people would buy the homes and lease them to black people for some really crazy interest rate.
Right.
Or something like that.
Wow.
So that went on for many years, and there was a legal case, this happened a few years ago, where the people who bought homes were compensated for what they would have, for the value of the home, if they had been able to buy it when they had the money. And so that's how it could have worked, because it's hard to figure out, like, okay, how do you figure out the value? But like in a case like this was we go back to, like, okay, this person tried to buy this house in 1962 and was prevented from doing so by racist practices. So we calculate how much value the house would have accumulated since 1962 if they'd owned it, and compensate people from that.
Gotcha.
So that was done. And Ta-Nehisi Coates wrote about that. So that was an idea for how people could do things. It's calculated that if people started to calculate, like, how much people were owed from slave, or how much the United States made off of slavery, it's in the trillions. Yeah, so that would be very hard to do.
Right.
But I mean, it's also said that it's an acknowledgement that wrong was done. And you know, I mean, the United States has never even apologized. And like, for example, reparations were paid to Japanese people that were interned, that were in internment camps in World War II. And there's a really famous case called the Rose Grove trials, which was a lynching, and the people that were unjustly accused, the black people that were two of them were killed and were murdered, and then two of them were put in jail unjustly, and they were compensated eventually and got an apology from the county or something. So, and then I was looking at other examples. Germany has made reparations to Namibia for colonizing it, and reparations were made to Holocaust victims from Germany. And now, okay, I think I've talked about this before because I thought this was really idiotic. Or the descendants of Holocaust victims were compensated by train companies in France because Jews were put on trains to be taken to the concentration camps. And I think that's going a little bit too far. That's really getting kind of abstract and theoretical. And the idea of reparations, you know, and the thing that's so hard for people to understand is that people, you know, somebody will be saying like, well, I didn't do this, and whereas you, like, I mean, a white person whose family owned slaves 150 years ago has benefited from their family's wealth and from their position in society. So, you know, and it's very hard for people to accept that. And I think people get very scared and, you know, like, blah, 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 it's not me, it's not me, it's not me. It's like, well, you know, like, no, nobody is saying it's you. You need to think about this. What was funny, then one of the articles I was reading, I mean, apparently it's not, there's a significant percentage of black people that don't support it, actually. And the reasons, there's people that feel that they want to move on or something. They don't want to think about the past. Mm-hmm. And an article I read said something, yes, and a lot of white people oppose this. Like, oh, really? So, yeah. So that's something. People's homes and money, you would compensate them for that, for what was taken away, and for interest or whatever. And so you could do it that way. But then with slavery, well, you're kind of like starting from, wherever. So, I don't know. I mean, I think it's something that can make political candidates look good without them really needing to figure out problems. Kind of like Elizabeth Warren is now saying, like, she's the first political candidate to come out and say impeach Trump.
Right.
And again, impeach just means, it means bring articles of impeachment. Right. That's it. Okay? All it means is doing this procedure against somebody. And I just think we're not going to succeed, okay? It's not going to, it's not going to work.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to work either.
Yeah, there is not a strong enough legal basis for it. So, that's that. I mean, if there was a legal ground to do it, that it would be more clear in a way. I mean, it's the sort of situations where sometimes you want to have evidence be overwhelming. In order to do something like this, you need evidence to be overwhelming, and it isn't. So, anyway, on with that. The United States had passed a resolution the Senate passed a resolution for the United States to get out of Yemen, which, as some of you know, I thought was a crock of shit, because Burn Dog brought it up last year, and like, okay, now you're talking, Obama got us involved in Yemen in 2015. Yemen is for our, to back up our great friends, the Saudis. And so American weapons are being used to kill civilians in Yemen. There is famine there. It is one of the worst humanitarian disasters in the world, and it's just wrong. But anyway, Trump vetoed it. It's sort of like, if Obama got us into this, it's not like Trump is going to get us out of it. So, you should have said something back in 2015, Burn Dog.
Burn Dog.
Yeah.
I love how they call him Burn Dog.
If I could get more the wrong clothing, and so many of them have been put in jail for this. But it's just incredible bravery. And Omar al-Bashir had ruled Sudan since 1989, and he was taken down. He was deposed, and he is now in prison. He was being held in house arrest, and then has been moved to prison, and then his brother was elected too. And so, but people are not backing down, because in a lot of countries you see the military come take over, and it usually does not mean things are getting better. And so people are out demanding a civilian government. And so that, and you know, some of the people who've just been released have said that they were tortured in prison. So it's just incredible bravery. There's people out there just risking their lives, just demanding their rights, and it's just very, very humbling to me. I was at a city council meeting, Vallejo city council meeting, and a week ago, and people were talking about different city projects that they.
Now, I had a question for you before you continue. Like, what are the good times if anybody wanted to go to a Vallejo council meeting? When are the times that you usually go? And
every other Tuesday. And except now that our show used to be on Tuesday, and I couldn't go to city council meetings, and then it switched to Thursdays, and now.
That's why you want to go to Tuesdays.
Yeah, well, no, because I want to bring the show back. Now I want to do the show again on Tuesdays because there's films on Thursday nights and Stonewall Democrat meetings.
Okay.
So people were talking about different projects that they want to have funded, and I volunteer at this really great mission called Faith Food Fridays, and some people from there listen sometimes, and they distribute food and clothes twice a week, and they have wanted a walk-in freezer. I mean, this place is unbelievable. They have 32 ancient freezers and plugged in, and it's just nuts, you know, because we were there. I was there today, and we're passing out food, and so, you know, we start to run low on something, and I went to go look for something in the freezer where I thought I could find it because everyone has desserts, and so I went to ask Benjamin, the maestro of the place, if there was any more desserts any place. He said, yeah, back in this freezer. I'm always saying that, like, one of these days we're going to find a volunteer in one of those freezers. So they want a walk-in freezer, and it looks like they're going to get it. Nice. Benjamin was out of town, and then his wife Marianne spoke, and then about what they do, and then Steve, another guy that volunteers there, spoke, and I was really bummed. Steve's my buddy. I missed him speaking, but then I saw them the next night at Bible study, and this always happens to me, you know, because I'm just sort of sitting there minding my own business, and then Marianne was leading the Bible study, and she said, Anna and I were at the town hall meeting, we're at the city council meeting last night. Anna, why don't you tell people about it? And I'm like, oh man, put me on the spot. So I was like, but I said, I mean, fortunately, because it is preeminent on my mind, that I just feel very, very blessed and thankful to be able to live in a country where I can go out and express myself. So, you know, since it was Bible study, that worked pretty well. And so then I brought up, a lot of the conversation was about the cops. Have you seen, one of the things that is being discussed was, okay, Vallejo has a lot of problems with their police department. It's international news. And the police chief was stepping down, and the question was whether he was going to be kept as an interim. He was going to stay on as he was going to stay there doing his job as a consultant. So that meant he would have been paid. That meant, well, they're going to do it. He will be paid as a consultant, and he'll be drawing his retirement pay. And people were pretty upset about that. Except, I mean, the city isn't paying his retirement fee, and he'd be getting that anyway. And so the discussion was just, okay, is this his fault? And are we, while they look for a new police chief, is it better to have some completely new person come in and be the interim chief. Said, then somebody else said, yes, it does.
Wait. So say it again?
Okay, the question is, okay, there's a lot of problems with the Vallejo Police Department, so do we fire the chief?
Mm-hmm.
That's the question. Should the chief be fired? I mean, the chief be fired.
I think they should investigate the police department. I don't know
Yeah.
if he should be fired yet.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you can't, you know, I don't know how his officers are, you know what I'm saying?
Because ultimately the person in charge is responsible.
Right.
So.
Yeah, they're responsible, but
I'm not saying I think they should do it.
No, but it's still like, it's just like any other job, you know?
Yeah.
There's still a manager, and if you have workers that aren't right, you know, sometimes you have a bunch of workers, you can get, you know, you might not completely catch the problem.
Yeah.
Right there and then. So I don't kind of consider it being the manager's fault more than the actual officer. Now, if it came out that the chief was promoting what they were doing and letting them get away with it, then I can see a difference.
Yeah, I mean, with issues like this, with police brutality, I mean, it's cultural.
Right.
It's the ideas that people have. And so with that sort of thing, you can actually place more blame on the higher authorities because they set the culture. They set the attitude.
That's not always true.
What do you mean?
Well, because, I mean, you can have a good chief, but, you know, they could have hired people that they're, you know, culturally they're not right. I mean, you can't base someone else's actions and ways off of...
But the person in charge should set the culture.
They should. Setting the culture and actually going by the culture is two different things, though.
Yeah.
There's some
so
people
if they
that can't
hack it, then
they should let them go. But I don't think you should let the chief go because the culture isn't right, because that person can't handle what it is.
Well,
you let that person go.
Hakeem Brown said that he'd spoken with, I mean, you know, Hakeem is getting it from all sides.
Right.
He is like the one, there's people that, there's this attitude like, okay, now it's Hakeem's job to fix it. It's like, he's been in office for a couple months. There's people that have been there for like 8 years that haven't done anything. And so, he's now in the position of, he needs to meet with the cops too. And he said that, you know, and he was great. He said that they were going to vote on it, and he explained to people why he was going to do it. And, you know, I mean, Hakeem is African American. He's from the city. I mean, this city, he has people he's close to that have been shot by cops.
Right.
And so he voted to, he feels that the police chief is sincere and that he's trying and that he understands institutional bias.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, he came right out and said it. And
like, being a police officer, man, that's like a big, I mean, I don't know, man. I also believe in the fact that a lot of police officers are corrupt. And so I believe even if you have a good chief, there's people that come in with their own motives. And, you know, you sometimes get people that come in that, you know, instead of them, you know, trying to do the right thing and be actual peace officers, they try to come in and try to use it as a way to control people and to work whatever weirdness they got out in them. Because some people are like,
defending them. They think he's gonna shoot them.
Right.
And
see, that's another bad point. I think that even happens kind of in prison too, with COs. And just so everybody know, a correction officer is not a police officer. So
yeah,
it's a little different, but they're kind of like
there's some similarities.
There are, but I'm saying like some people really like if they see a CO and they were dressed like a CO on the outside, they think they're not police officers. I'm just saying that they're correction. But anyway, they're like police officers or prisoners. But anyway, they get PTSD too, and you'll get guys like I said, they're in a prison, so they see a group of gang members or something, they treat them a little different.
Yeah.
Because they're more scared, you know what I'm saying? It's gang members. You're like right there in the mix of them.
Yeah.
And so sometimes that happens there too. In the same similarity, so. Yeah.
I mean, it's not that they, and then there's like this, there was another case where recently, this guy was standing on his porch filming, and the cop came up to him from the street and pointed a gun at him and told him to put it down. I mean, that is, there's stuff like that, but also, there's just other cases where you think, and a lot of them, some of them have been in the military, and so they have PTSD from that, and some of them freak out with loud noises.
Right.
So, and
I personally think if you have PTSD to a certain extent, I don't know if there's a way to gauge it. I'm not a psychiatrist. I just don't think you should you should be able to have a position.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so either. But
that's like if you were in, like you said, if you were in the army and you know, and that was on your mind, I think you should not be able to be a police officer.
I don't think so either. But the problem is, it's not for a lot of people. It's not diagnosed.
Right.
And there's so much shame and embarrassment and it's just really hard. And it's a cult. The military and the police force are cultures where, in our culture in general, it's very hard to ask for help for things. And or people like they're afraid they're like admitting they're crazy. And PTSD is treatable. It's very treatable. And so, I just think that's what the problem is for a lot of them. And it's so. How we got onto that, but I've mentioned it before. My nephew is becoming a psychologist. He's now doing postdoctorate work, and that's what he does. He works with police forces, working with stuff. So when I saw my brother last week, I was like, tell Aaron he needs to get out there, okay? It's needed. So, okay. Before we go on a break, I want to catch up on Algeria, because that's another country that's having a changing of the guard. The big, I was reading an article about kind of telling Sudan and Algeria to watch out. It's really sad how many countries have revolutions and then things don't get any better. So the Algerian revolution demonstrations have been going on for a while, and President Bouteflika did step down, and it has been said that elections, first he put off elections indefinitely, but now there's an interim leader, and elections have been set for July. So we're going to be watching that really closely, and people are still out demonstrating in Algeria, and God bless them. It's fucking bravery. So, okay, we are going to go on a break, and thank you, everybody. Thank you, Chantel.